Vamos a ver qué sale. Vimos.
Our launch today is certified as a carbon neutral event in accordance with the Carbon Neutral Protocol, the leading global framework for carbon
Inmarsat I-6 F2. De pijama. Youtuber de pijama.
Scope 1 and 2 emissions targets being validated by the Science-Based Targets Initiative. While you may not have heard of Inmarsat,
4 horas así. Llegué a casa.
on the planet who does not benefit directly or indirectly from our satellite networks and our comprehensive portfolio of communication services. Of course, we did not get here alone. The launch of I-6 F2 was on.
Bueno, se está explicando un poco de qué se trata esto. Faltan 6 minutos para el lanzamiento. He perdido un poco la voz. Vamos a ver si puedo recuperarla. ¿Me escuchan, verdad?
All our employees, including our I-6 program manager, Edwina Paisley, and her team, working with our Chief Technology Officer colleagues under the leadership of Peter Haringer. Every day, across the world, people, organizations, and governments trust Inmarsat to connect them at the moments when it matters most. Our customers count on us when it simply has to work. We have been delivering this certainty for over 40 years. Today, our customers have the certainty that we have a strong, growing business, one that is at the forefront of satellite communications innovation. They have the certainty that everything we build is based on what they need, not just today, but into the 2030s and beyond. Certainty that we have a roadmap that will travel with them into the future. Certainty is at the heart of our deep-rooted promise born out of decades of service to connect the world for good. In an uncertain world, Inmarsat stands ready to deliver on its promise. Thank you.
Next up, the transporter erector, the TE, will retract away from Falcon. We will first see the clamp arms begin to open, which are around the second stage, just below the fairing. There you can see them there, just below the fairing. Once they are fully open, then the TE can retract away from the vehicle, and that's that structure next to the vehicle that you see there on your screen. At T0,
para el lanzamiento. Buenas noches a
even
todos.
further away
La
from
gasolina,
Falcon 9
Nicola
as it lifts
Full.
off, and on your screen you can see those clamp
Ponce.
arms are opening up.
Ricardo TG.
Again, once they are fully open, that TE will begin
Bueno,
to retract.
Gracias.
And it looks like it's retracting there. It's very slow and steady. The first stage is connected to a launch mount at the base of the TE, but the structure is hinged and will retract away from the
Escucha la
vehicle in
válvula,
preparation
sí,
for launch.
increíble.
And it looks like the TE is now fully reclined. Now at this point in the countdown, both the first and second stage are nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. Both first stage and second stage should finish prop loading about a minute apart from each other. The first stage will finish at T-minus 3 minutes and the second stage at T-minus 2 minutes. Now you can see some white clouds around the vehicle.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
Should call out that prop loading is complete on the first stage vehicle. Now those white clouds that you see are the chilled gas above the liquid oxygen tank liquid surface that we vent overboard to maintain pressure in the tank as needed. And when that gas comes out in contact with the warmer air, it begins to condense as water, and that's what you're seeing. At T-minus 60 seconds, Falcon 9 will be in startup. What that means is the rocket's autonomous...
Casi 2 minutos 30 segundos, recuerden. Faltando 1 minuto, este cohete entra autónomo para el despegue. Faltando 47 segundos. Director de vuelo, listo bueno para el lanzamiento. El coordinario, obviamente que sí. Estamos.
10:59 p.m. Eastern Time. As mentioned earlier, if for some reason we do not launch tonight, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow at the same time. And with that, we are proceeding into the last couple minutes of the terminal count.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
Completa.
Stage 2 LOX loading should have completed, just waiting for a call
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
And there it is. Now that prop loading is complete, the vehicle is fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. And you can see a little bit more of those white clouds that I mentioned. That is because we are now venting out the liquid oxygen line on that transporter erector.
Esa nube están dando los gases
Ground gas close out to start.
oxígeno.
The next event will be at T-minus 1 minute. The internal flight computers will take over the launch countdown, and this is an autonomous vehicle, so it will take us all the way through the entire mission.
Yo sí, gracias. Yo creado. Ya, gracias por venir.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Bueno, sí.
Great news. We are in startup and now just waiting the final call from the launch director.
Máximo.
Launch director, we're go for launch.
And
Dr.
great
Bueno.
news. All systems are go for launch of Falcon
T-minus 30
9
seconds.
with Inmarsat's I-6 F2 payload.
And
15.
15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9,
8,
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engines full power. And liftoff of Falcon 9 and Inmarsat. Go Falcon, go Inmarsat.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Así que gracias.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Impresionante, impresionante. Sorprenderme.
Power engine telemetry nominal.
Cool, cool.
We are just about a minute into flight, and Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from pad 40
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
at Cape
Supersónico.
Canaveral Space Force Station, carrying Inmarsat's I-6 F2
acerca.
payload. We are
Cerca
coming
al
up on
máximo Q. Máximo Q ahora.
Max Q.
And great news, we have just passed through Max Q. That is the largest structural load that the
Es el
vehicle
momento
sees on
magnífico del
ascent.
lanzamiento en cohete donde puede romperse
Now, the rocket
justamente
typically
un
needs to
refuerzo
go
aerodinámico.
17,500 miles per hour horizontally in order to avoid being pulled back down to Earth and get into orbit. So you can keep an eye on the Stage 1 telemetry that's on the bottom
gracias,
left hand
señor
of your
Mesa.
screen there. You can see those 9 M1D engines
And back
burning
engine
bright.
chill has started.
burning bright
Empezaron
there
a
on
enfriar
your
la
screen.
segunda etapa.
We do have 3 events coming up in rapid succession. That will be MECO, stage separation, and SES-1. MECO is main
Recuerden,
engine
el
cutoff.
cohete Falcon 9 son 2 etapas. 9 motores la primera, 1 la
We'll
segunda.
slow the stage down and prepare for stage separation.
Se
That's when the
llamas
first stage will separate from second stage.
Cohetes, el
First stage will come
se
back
empiezan a abrir de a
down to
poco.
Earth, while second stage
Que la
continues
atmósfera cada vez más
with
alta empieza a
SES-1.
perder
That's the
densidad.
second stage engine start 1, and that MVAC engine will ignite on the second stage.
Me canso de
Coming up
decirlo,
on
pero
those
es
3
importantísimo.
events here in a few seconds. MECO, stage separation, and SES-1.
Bueno, viene lo próximo, que es apagado de motores, separación de etapas y encendido de la segunda etapa.
Main engine cut off.
Corte motor, pico,
Stage separation.
separación.
And back ignition.
Encendido el motor de base, encendido el motor de tensión.
Very cool views of MECO, stage separation.
¿Cómo se
On your
pone
right
al
hand
rojo
screen, you can
eso?
see that MVAC engine is glowing bright.
Izquierda,
That has now ignited on your left hand
Que
screen.
se
You can see
abren
the grid fins
anillas.
deploying.
que sirven para poder aterrizar el booster luego.
Next will be fairing separation. The fairing helps protect the payload on ascent, but once we're in the vacuum of space, we no longer need that protection. So we will jettison the fairing halves, and that's coming up here in a few seconds.
Claro, muchas gracias por su salud. Adentro, miren, se van las cofias.
Fairing separation.
Ahí se fue.
And great call out and visual confirmation.
Recuerden, las cofias o los semicarenados están para proteger la carga. Atraviesa la atmósfera.
Back down to Earth.
Ya ir el espacio no es necesario. Por eso la sueltan. Esas cofias
Acquisition of signal Bermuda.
se recuperan.
It's about
$3 millones cada uno.
tonight's mission. If you are just joining us now, Falcon 9 has lifted off successfully, carrying Inmarsat's I-6 F2 payload. Now, we're about to begin the first of the 2 planned MVAC burns for satellite deployed. Around T+6 minutes, you should see on your screen the first stage's entry burn. To start the entry burn, we will relight 3 of the M1D engines, starting with
¿Qué?
engine
Próximo, ¿qué
known as
pasa?
E9, followed shortly by the E1
Estamos aquí.
and E5 engines,
Estamos aquí.
which will
Llegué
slow
a este
down the
lugar.
vehicle as it
Entré.
passes back into Earth's
Lo que vamos a hacer es
atmosphere.
encender 3 motores.
Falcon 9 is coming
para
back
reducir la
down
velocidad
really
de
fast.
ingreso.
We need to slow down to
Segunda etapa.
reduce the re-entry forces, which will then help us recover
poder
and
aterrizar.
reuse that first stage. During the entry burn, Falcon 9 is
Ese
accelerating
encendido de 3 motores va a reducir 2.500 kilómetros por hora. Ese cohete.
the vehicle to fly through Merlin's exhaust gases, or commonly known as a rocket's plume. This deposits a layer of soot on the vehicle's
José Alejandro pregunta si es posible que este cohete
comes from the
aterrice si la segunda etapa no se separa. No, no creo. Definitivamente no creo.
the vehicle, making it a little city.
De todas maneras, las etapas están
Stage.
con tornillos explosivos.
As you can see on your screen, the second stage is glowing red.
Muy difícil que no se separen.
MVAC engine.
Ricardo dice, lo hacen ver tan fácil sin saber lo complejo que puede llegar a ser. Terriblemente complejo.
Now, coming up in a few
Parece
seconds,
fácil
we should
porque
be
lo
seeing
vemos
the
fácil.
entry burn begin
Porque
for
lo
the
hacen ver fácil. SpaceX son magos. Son magos.
As you can see on the left side of your screen, that is the first stage. And we're just a few seconds away from the entry burn begin.
Muchas gracias.
Stage 1 FTS says saved.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Acaban de colocar
As you
seguro los motores. O sea, los explosivos ya no detonan nada. Y está entrando el cohete. Fíjense en la imagen de la izquierda. Es el encendido de aceleración. Miren cómo baja la velocidad a la izquierda. 3.200 kilómetros por hora. A 8.000.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
As you can see and hear on net,
Bueno,
stage
acaban
1
de apagar
entry
el
burn
motor.
has shut down.
3 motores apagados.
Reusability is key to lowering the cost of spaceflight, which
Ya
enables
miren la
more investment
telemetría.
in critical scientific
9.000 kilómetros por hora. 168 kilómetros de altura.
third time. Previously
El cohete
supported
sigue
CBS
acelerando la
series
carga hacia el
CCL06
espacio.
and the Crew 5 missions.
Vehicles on a nominal trajectory.
The Merlins on the first stage
Los vehículos están en la trayectoria normal. Tanto el que está cayendo como el que está subiendo al espacio.
Fun fact, at liftoff, Falcon 9's first stage has thrust greater than 5 747 airplanes at full power, and it's consuming approximately about 700 gallons of fuel per second. That MVAC engine on your screen is optimized about 220,000 pounds of thrust in vacuum. That is the vacuum
Stage
of
1
space.
transonic.
Bueno,
Coming up next,
transónico.
we should be seeing
Muy próximo a
shutdown
aterrizar.
in our
Mira la
landing
altura de 7
second
kilómetros.
stage, followed quickly by our
2 kilómetros por hora.
Terminal guidance.
¿Me están escuchando bien ustedes? mi voz no salga de todo
And
bien.
back shut down.
There you can see it and here on the nets. We have confirmation of SECO
Stage 1 landing burn.
And the
Sentido
landing burn for
aterrizaje.
stage 1 has begun.
Va a aterrizar el
We're now
útero.
just waiting for confirmation of good orbital insertion
Va a
for
aterrizar el útero. Ahí viene, mire.
orbital
Lost the
insertion.
signal, Cape Canaveral.
We are now waiting for Falcon to land
Stage 1
back,
landing leg deploy.
Viene.
back on our drone ship. Just read the instructions.
Las instrucciones se llama el barco.
Taxes
Stage 1 landing
173rd
confirmed.
recovery of an orbital
Aterrizado.
class rocket, including first stage landings for Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. Now, the mission isn't just over yet. The second stage is now embarking on its first coast phase. After the coast
sí.
phase, we will light that MVAC engine for a second time around T plus 26 minutes. So till
pegó
then,
el-
sit back and
Aterrizó en el
relax.
centro,
Cheers.
pero casi en el centro. Increíble. Una vez más, SpaceX lo consiguió. Impresionante. Impresionante. Vamos a repetir. Vamos a hacer el resultado. Tenemos 37 minutos para soltar los satélites. En condición. Hace 4 horas que salí del hospital. Vamos a repetir el ejemplo. Juntos.
Falcon 9 and Inmarsat. Go Falcon, go Inmarsat.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Power winch telemetry nominal.
We are just about a minute into flight, and Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from pad 40
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, carrying Inmarsat's I-6 F2 payload. We are coming up on max Q here.
Increíble.
Max Q.
Ay, máximo.
Great news, we have just passed through max Q. That is the largest structural load that the vehicle sees on ascent. Now, the rocket is typically needs to go 17,500 miles per hour horizontally in order to avoid being pulled back down to Earth and get into orbit. So you can keep an eye on the stage 1 telemetry. That's on the bottom left hand of your screen there. You can see those 9 M1D engines
And back
Burning
engine
bright.
chill has started.
burning bright there on your screen. We do have 3 events coming up in rapid succession. That will be MECO, stage separation, and SES-1. MECO is main engine cutoff. That's where we shut down all 9 of the M1D engines that you see burning bright on your screen. That will help slow the stage down and prepare for stage separation. That's where the first stage will separate from second stage. First stage will come back home down to Earth, while second stage continues with SES-1. That's second stage.
Engine cut off.
And that MVAC engine will ignite on the second stage. We are coming up on those 3 events here in a few seconds. MECO, stage separation, and SES-1.
Bueno, corte, separación de motores. Encendido, segunda etapa.
Main engine cut off.
Corte,
Stage separation.
acción normal.
MVAC ignition.
Encendido el motor de vacío.
Very cool views of MECO stage separation. On your right-hand screen, you can see that MVAC engine is glowing bright.
Es increíble, parece tan fácil, esto tan fácil. Y es increíblemente complejo.
Coming up next will be fairing separation. The fairing helps protect the payload on ascent, but once we're in the vacuum of space, we no longer need that protection, so we will jettison the
8.000
fairing
kilómetros
hats.
por hora. 8.500 kilómetros por hora.
Fairing separation.
Se va la cofia.
And great call out and visual confirmation that the fairing halves have deployed. And we will be attempting to retrieve these fairing halves again tonight once they make their way back down to Earth.
Acquisition of signal Bermuda.
It's about T+4 minutes into
Lo
tonight's
que dijo ahora el director de vuelo, que adquirieron la señal desde Bermuda. Bermuda es una isla que está cerca. Sí, el cohete. Y tomando la telemetría directo desde Bermuda. Eso es lo que dicen siempre.
You should see on your screen the first stage's entry burn. To start the entry burn, we will relight 3 of the M1.
O si no, las cofias no quedan como chatarra. Aterrizan con paracaídas. Son recuperados por
and the E5
barcos.
engines,
Uno de ellos se llama Bob.
which will slow down the vehicle as it
3 millones de dólares cada una.
atmosphere.
La recuperan.
As Falcon 9 is coming back down really fast, we need to slow down to reduce the re-entry forces, which will then help us recover and reuse that first stage. During the entry burn, Falcon 9 is decelerating by
Ya sé que necesito recuperación, pero esto no me puedo perder. Menos. Compartirlo con ustedes.
plume. This deposits a layer of soot on the vehicle's surface. Now that soot comes from the carbon-based fuel that Falcon 9 uses, and with each flight builds up a little more on the outside of the vehicle, making it a little soot.
Que nos hablan tanto en inglés.
Oftentimes, prior to a
Pidiendo
launch,
por
you can see
correo.
that soot on your first
En
stage.
correos a SpaceX, por favor. Pidiendo que nos hagan un canal
As you can see on your
sin voz en inglés. Sin voz en inglés. Solo el audio de las válvulas. Ambiente.
Now, coming up in a few seconds, we should be seeing the entry burn begin for the first stage as the booster comes back on its way to Earth.
Quiero hacer que va entrando. Pantalla. Se la velocidad de caída.
As you can see on the left side of your screen, that is the first
100
stage.
kilómetros por hora.
And we're just a few seconds away from the entry burn begin.
Próximo a encender sus motores para desacelerar. No del todo.
Stage 1 FTS says safe.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Ahora sí.
As you can see and hear it, stage 1 entry burn has begun.
Motores, los centrales. Miren cómo va. 7.000, 6.700, más de 8000. $5200.
Stage 1 entry burn shut down.
As you can see and hear on net, stage 1 entry burn has shut down. Reusability
Magia pura.
for investment in critical
Sí.
scientific research.
Wars.
Falcon 9 on your screen today is supporting and doing the re-entry burn for the third time. Previously supported the GPS-3, Space Vehicle 6, and the Crew 5 missions.
Vehicles on a nominal trajectory.
The Merlins on the first stage are optimized for sea level. These achieve around 190,000 pounds of thrust during ascent and descent. Fun fact, at liftoff, Falcon 9's first stage has thrust greater than 5 747 airplanes at full power, and it's consuming approximately about 700 gallons of fuel per second.
10 altura, ¿no?
That MVAC engine on your screen is optimized by 220,000
Sonido,
pounds of thrust and
¿qué quiere
vacuum.
decir?
That is the vacuum of
Stage 1
space.
Pasa la velocidad del sonido.
Coming up next, we should be seeing shutdown on our MVAC engine on the second stage, followed quickly by our landing burn on the first stage as it's coming back
Stage 2
down.
FTS has safed.
Bueno, ahora, seguro, todos lados.
Terminal guidance.
1000 kilómetros por hora de caída. 3,5 kilómetros de altura.
MVAC shut down.
There you can see it and here on the net. We have confirmation of SECO
Stage 1
1,
landing burn.
and the landing burn for stage 1 has begun. We are now just waiting for confirmation of good orbital insertion for our second stage.
Nominal
David,
orbit insertion.
There you've heard on the nets, nominal orbital insertion.
Lost the signal, Cape Canaveral.
We are now waiting for Falcon to land
Stage 1
back.
landing leg deploy.
Back on our drone ship, just read the instructions.
Las instrucciones se llama el barco.
And as you can see and hear it, you have
Magia, 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 magia.
173rd recovery of an orbital class rocket, including first stage landings for Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. Now, the mission isn't just over yet. The second stage is now embarking on its first coast phase. After the coast phase, we will light that MVAC engine for a second time around T plus 26 minutes. So till then, sit back and we'll see you back here.
Ok. Sorprender ustedes por la cantidad de gente que hay. No dejen de sorprenderme por soportar sin voz. Qué gusto verte, dice Marisa Lucena. Leandro Ramos, yo casi no lo veía en pleno verano. Puedo explicar. Pasamos de 38 grados a 14. Javier Telecom, un gusto verte. Sí, también. Abrazo, Leida. Sinceramente, los amo. Me encantaría seguir, pero sinceramente, estuve hospitalizado hasta hoy, hace 5 horas. Llegué a casa, cené, lo disfruté terrible. Damos una cena juntos, van juntos, también separados. Puedo estar más contento de estar de vuelta en casa. Taquicardia tuve, obviamente relacionado con lo que tengo, pero que no sabíamos que podía aparecer. Terminé la radioterapia, lo cual es muy bueno, toleré bien. No sabemos los resultados hasta dentro de 45 días. Y empiezo 15-20 días la quimioterapia, lo cual es un poco más salado, posiblemente con más efectos secundarios, pero no importa. 110% siempre por encima del mar. Lamentablemente, lo tengo que puedo sola. 20 quimio. No tengo sueño, porque aparte me entusiasma estar con usted, pero muchísimo. Yo le gracias por todo lo que haces. la puerta.